just like that.
Tonight at 11, he spent nearly 3 decades behind bars for a murder he did not commit. And now this Brooklyn native who was exonerated back in 2020 is still adjusting to life outside prison.
New York State has had the 3rd highest number of exonerations in the country. Jennifer Bisram takes a look at what life is like after finally being freed.
Why'd you buy this house?
I buy it because the trees over there, like, it makes me think of freedom.
210 miles away from his New Jersey home at Auburn Correctional Facility in New York is where Gerard DeMond spent most of his adult life as inmate 89A8836, with many sleepless nights on hard jail beds surrounded by prison guards and violence.
Jump in there, boom, boom.
Wow. Now at age 62, he's finally living outside of prison walls in a house with his family, including his 2-year-old daughter, Layla.
What happened? You want more?
No more.
No more? Okay. Good girl. It's like time stopped at 23 and I continue all this. So now I'm back out here. It's like try to play catch up with a lot of what I missed out on. Yes, I grew up in jail, literally. All those decades was gone, just like that.
He was convicted for a 1987 murder in Brooklyn. In 2020, he was exonerated by the Brooklyn DA's office after they say key information was withheld from the case.
When this murder happened, you weren't even in New York City?
No, at all. I was not in New York City at all.
Where were you?
In Dannelsonville, Georgia, with my girlfriend at the time.
What was going through your mind?
This can't be happening to me. Why am I going to prison for something I didn't do? And I was like, damn, how many other people probably going through this? How many, black men from my hood?
According to the National Registry of Exonerations, New York has had 347 exonerations since 1989, 157 alone here in New York City between 2014 and 2022. Brooklyn, where DeMond is from, has had the most in New York City, 40 since its conviction review unit was created in 2014. Most of the exonerations are of black men.
It's a struggle. Life is a struggle for me even now.
DeMond sued the city and was awarded over $13 million. But he says no amount of money can bring back all the years of his life lost and take away the nightmares and emotional trauma.
Money doesn't cure you. Money don't do nothing for you for the soul. You take the shackle off, but you're still incarcerated because the pain, the scars, it's never removed, regardless.
4 years later, he still doesn't feel free.
I'm having a difficult time coping with things because, sometimes I act like I'm still locked up. Sometimes when I'm making reference to going upstairs, I say I'm going to my cell.
He says each one of his over 10,000 days in jail was a struggle.
No, I wanted somebody to kill me. Yeah, I really did, because I didn't think I could do all that time.
And every day now is a mental fight.
I got it, though. Still got it. I was frightened to come home, put it like that.
Why?
Because this is a new world. It's like I was comfortable for some reason. I knew what I had to do in there. For the most part, I'm lost out here,
On this fall day, DeMond shares that his family and building cars help him to heal.
I'm going to therapy, but I have no peace. Money, everything, I have that, but it's still a burden. I'm searching for something. I don't know what it is. Part of me is in there.
But he says just like he never gave up on his innocence, he will not give up on feeling free. Jennifer Bisram, CBS News, New York.
Good morning and welcome to the Bad Apple Report. It's 7:30 a.m. bright and early right here at home on the range. Thank you so much for being here today, folks. I really appreciate it. We're going to start it out with good news in Fort Worth. That's right. You remember that cop that threw our friend Carolyn Rodriguez on the ground and knocked her unconscious, almost killed her? Well, he's been fired, and it's good news. Fort Worth police officer fired for excessive force and arrest of local activist. And it says here, a Fort Worth police officer who appeared to violently arrest a woman on video has been fired after an investigation found he used unjustified force and violated departmental policy during the arrest. The Fort Worth Police Department announced on Wednesday, yay! All right, Matthew KRUEGER, they say, was responsible. He was responding to a collision involving a suspected drunk driver when an unrelated woman began recording on her cell phone. Local activist Carolyn Rodriguez was live streaming the incident before being approached and arrested by KRUEGER. Old Matthew Mud Freddy KRUEGER. That's what we like to call him here on the Bad Apple Report. In the video, KRUEGER can be heard telling Rodriguez to move across the street. After she asked police why she needed to move, KRUEGER told her she was being arrested and moved in. The next moments are obscured, but an officer can be heard saying she's bleeding before the video ends. Yeah. Okay. Police said Rodriguez suffered injuries during the arrest that required medical care before being booked into jail and charged with interference with public duties, resisting arrest, evading arrest, and making a false alarm on report. The department said it began an immediate and congruent investigation following the incident, which led to KRUEGER's termination. By KRUEGER, you guys, I think Matthew Mud Freddy KRUEGER is probably sitting in his boxer shorts, eating Fruit Loops this morning, watching the Bad Apple Report. I'm not a legend, but I'm just thinking that's probably what he's doing. Okay, KRUEGER was with the department for nearly 8 years. You threw it all away, KRUEGER. He couldn't be reached for comment. Oh, maybe he'll join in on the live chat. Come on, KRUEGER, join in. Okay. All right. The Fort Worth Police Officers Association did not respond to the request. Although the voice can be heard telling her to stop resisting, Rodriguez said she was knocked out during the incident and woke up in the hospital. Images from her during that time showed her badly bruised face. We've all seen that. So Rodriguez was later found guilty on charges of interference with public duties and sentenced to 30 days in jail with a $750 fine. On Tuesday, a judge suspended her sentence and placed her on community supervision for 15 months. Oh, thanks, Judge, goofball, allegedly. Don't sue me, or whatever you guys do. In an interview, Rodriguez told KERA News that she was scared for her life during the incident. Your body is dying, but the brain was trying to keep you alive, Rodriguez said. Dang, you guys. That's serious. I think I could have died if I had been more frail. Okay. All right. Well, Mr. Excessive Force Matthew KRUEGER is fired. On with the show.
My gut just tells me when you've been involved in this many incidents of violence that probably there's other professions that you should probably seek.
Tonight, Kansas City's police department is settling another lawsuit involving the same officer. In this latest lawsuit, a woman will be awarded $65,000 after she accused Officer Blaine Newton of assault. I'm John Holt.
I'm Bria Love. Newton has been sued and investigated for killing 3 people in 2 different incidents all over the last 4 years. Fox 4's Dave DeMarco live at KCPD headquarters with the video that was the base of this most recent lawsuit. Dave?
And that plaintiff, who was a Walmart shopper back in 2022, says that she simply was trying to record an arrest with her cell phone when she says she was subject to assault, battery, and false imprisonment, all by that officer whose name you've heard before, Blaine Newton. Attorney John Paserno says Bermika Mitchell didn't initially plan to sue KCPD officer Blaine Newton for what you see here in a Platte County Walmart in September of 2022. But then she'd learned more about the officer's alleged history the next summer, when he shot 2 people and injured a third as he came upon someone in a van pointing a gun at another vehicle near 31st Street and Van Brunt. It was the same officer that sparked protest in 2020 when he shot and killed Donnie Sanders. Investigators later said Sanders was not armed during the incident. Newton was not charged in the case. And later the same year, he was captured on video putting his knee on a pregnant woman's back.
Just think of the numbers of officers that go their entire career and don't discharge their firearm, or the number of officers that go their entire career and don't kill anyone. And here you have an officer who is admittedly, shot and killed 3 different people.
The situation at the Platte County Walmart less life-altering, but Paserno says it still never should have happened. Mitchell witnessed an arrest in the parking lot.
There was a lot of commotion, a lot of noise. She didn't think what was happening was right, so she began to videotape what was going on with her cell phone.
She proceeded to live stream as she entered Walmart. That's when someone in plainclothes, who she says she had no idea was associated with the store, told her to stop. When she didn't, Officer Blaine Newton escorted her to an office.
He then puts her in a non-KCPD approved restraint maneuver with his hand and arm under her arm and shoulder in a twisting motion, and then escorts her through the store, through the vestibule, and to the loss prevention officer.
The Office of Community Complaints recommended an excessive use of force complaint be sustained. Newton was also one of 3 officers who used a taser and repeatedly punched a teenager in 2019, which resulted in a $325,000 payout from KCPD. This settlement is for $65,000.
I think it's really important anytime a lawsuit is settled with law enforcement. Somebody has to police the police, And apparently it's not KCPD that's going to police their own employees.
Now, that community complaints memo said that that officer was disciplined. However, when I reached out to police today, they said that they can't comment on that discipline. It's not public under Missouri state statute. Bria, those two wrongful death lawsuits are still pending. And according to police, Newton is a patrol officer here with the department.
Morning, exclusive video showing a powerful district attorney allegedly committing a serious crime. Warren County DA Chris Stanford facing accused of felony reckless endangerment for firing a gun and then nearly hitting a child. It was all caught on camera. And Nick, I know you obtained this video, which is some key evidence in this case. This exclusive video, pretty shocking to see here.
A story a lot of people have been talking about, and you're exactly right. This video evidence that you are about to see is largely the reason a grand jury did indict Stanford this week. Now, this was his mugshot, all right? Very unusual to see a sitting district attorney in a jail jumpsuit. He is accused of recklessly firing his handgun after taking the unusual step of joining authorities last month on a manhunt for an accused killer in neighboring DeKalb County. At the time, he told me he fired in self-defense of himself and others. Prosecutors say this video from Smithville indicates otherwise. You see Stanford in the upper right jump from his truck and run toward a suspect's car as the vehicle bumps an officer. Then as the car speeds from the scene, Stanford pulls his gun and shoots. And as you see, he then goes running after the vehicle, firing between 3 and 5 shots. Stanford didn't hit the vehicle, but one stray round did go into a nearby apartment, missing a mother and her 3-year-old daughter by just about 2 feet. Prosecutors say the video shows no imminent threat, that Stanford was not aiming, but just held the gun out firing. And in fact, it was he putting other lives at risk. This morning, Stanford remains on the job as the top lawman in Van Buren County and Warren County. Those are the two he was over. I've reached out to him, but have not yet heard back from him yet.
Okay, a lot of questions here. So first of all, you're saying law enforcement did not fire shots.
That's right.
He did.
This is the only one.
Oh, okay, so then the question is, why is the DA out there, and is he even certified in this case to basically do a police action?
Great questions, both of those. First of all, why was he there?
Right.
That's still right now. We don't know. I mean, this is an active scene that he showed up at. Why? Something of a mystery. That's not the DA's job. That's the police. And no, to my understanding, Stanford did not have any specialized training that's typically required of officers. And by the way, DAs do not have themselves the power, the police power to arrest.
All right, and if I know you, and I think I do, you're always digging. So you've got some more on the way?
We have more on this. We'll show you more of that video coming up this morning at 6:30. We'll also hear from the mother whose child was almost hit by that bullet.
And that's what can't be lost in this is essentially, their lives nearly put in danger.
There's the reckless endangerment. Right. That child could have been killed.
Okay. All right. We'll look for more coming up here in a half hour. So
Okay, folks. We've got a Grand Island police officer who's been arrested on suspicion of DUI. Goodness. Living in paradise. What are you going to do? Drink and drive, I guess. Grand Island, Nebraska. That don't seem like paradise. Maybe it is. The Nebraska State Patrol arrested a Grand Island police officer on suspicion of driving under the influence last weekend. Wonder how that town got that name. I'm just wondering because it seems like there shouldn't be an island in the middle of Nebraska. But, who knows? Maybe it was just a ruse. You guys all saw Blazing Saddles. Maybe they just... Anyways, let's move on. Hale County jail records indicate Jordan Lukaszewicz. Oh, Miss Lukaszewicz was booked in early Sunday morning. A Grand Island police spokesperson confirmed that Lukaszewicz is a patrol officer on the force right there in Grand Island. Jail records indicate the arrest happened near intersection in they're in central Grand Island. Oof. I wonder what it's like there in central Grand Island. Whoa, probably a bustling metropolis, I presume. I don't know. In a prepared statement, Police Chief Kevin Denny said the State Patrol was investigating the DUI. Denny also said the officer is on administrative leave pending an internal Grand Island Police Department investigation. That's pretty serious. Police Department takes these allegations seriously and in an unfortunate situation. Oh, it's so unfortunate. Why is it unfortunate? It should be fortunate that you caught this knucklehead bad apple out there roaming the streets. I remind you, the officer, like everyone else, is entitled to their rights under the law. Whoa. As of Wednesday afternoon, there was no record or formal charges filed against Lukasiewicz. Well, why not? Okay. We'll find out more about Miss Lukasiewicz. We'll put her on the cover of the Bad Apple Report. It's what we're going to do. All right. On with the show.
Day in June of 2020, two men strolled into the Department of Human Resources office in Dothan armed with video cameras. Employees there told them to leave, but the men refused, so a DHR employee called police. When officers Jay Dodson and D. Bridges arrived, they handcuffed those men for about a half hour, but ultimately released them without charges. George Metz, who was one of the men, they're called First Amendment auditors, filed a lawsuit naming Dodson and Bridges in their official capacity. In a ruling, a federal court judge refused to give those officers what's called qualified immunity, which would mean they could be held personally liable. Now, the city of Dothan and the officers appealed, and this afternoon, the 11th U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals in Atlanta ruled that the judge was wrong in his decision. But this case goes far beyond those two officers. The appeals court ruling also said Dodson and Bridges were within their rights to ask the First Amendment auditors for identification. That ruling could be huge because generally officers can't demand ID unless they believe a crime has occurred or will occur. Dothan Police Chief Will Biddy hailed the ruling. He told me that this has been an issue and the case is a clear victory. Talking about the issue being the First Amendment auditors, and he called this a clear victory for law enforcement and the rule of law. Biddy said Dothan police work hard to protect constitutional rights. Now, the issue here isn't whether Metz and his associate could record at DHR. They probably could because it is a public lobby, but instead the issue is how did the officers act appropriately and within their rights to cuff those auditors and to demand their identification. Kinsley.
Very interesting stuff there.
Begin with an LEX 18 Investigates update on an embattled Eastern Kentucky police chief. We've been telling you about lawsuits against Hazard Chief Darren Williams. Well, now we've learned he's been fired. Evening Edition's Lee Searcy got reaction from the man who says video of his false arrest led to public outcry.
Just 2 weeks ago, we talked to Dallas Campbell about what happened last July as he recorded himself going to the Hazard Police Department to file an open records request. His visit didn't go well with Chief Darren Williams.
This is a secure government building. You can't film in here. Please turn it off. Beat it. You can't film in here. I told you it's illegal.
Campbell didn't get his records and instead was arrested. His charges just recently dismissed. He believes this video prompted public outcry and pressured officials to fire Williams.
It's kind of surprising on one hand, but not on the other. I mean, it seemed like it was writing on the wall. But
Hazard City Manager confirmed to LEX 18 the City Commission voted unanimously last night to terminate Chief Williams. He says they want to go in another direction. As we reported, Campbell is suing the city and Williams for false arrest and malicious prosecution. One of his attorneys believes the city could have acted sooner.
They didn't choose to react whenever they charged Dallas, and we had argued that case in court, had it dismissed, and raised some serious questions about the evidence, about the claims. There was no reaction.
Campbell hopes Williams' firing will lead to a culture change.
I do think that there obviously needs to be more training on open records and how the police department could be more transparent and maybe retraining some of the officers.
All right, folks, we have a TDCJ correctional officer who has been arrested and accused of performing an sexual act with an inmate. Oh my goodness. Maybe this guy needs to be on Star Search instead of the Bad Apple Report, okay? A Texas Department of Criminal Justice correctional officer was arrested after she was accused of performing an sexual act with an inmate at the Travis County State Jail over the weekend, according to the court documents. Well, court records identify the correctional officer as Brittany Cummings. She was charged with violation of civil rights of person in custody. She was booked into jail on December 15th on a $10,000 bond and was released on December 17th. Uh-oh. She's watching the Bad Apple Report. Hi, Miss Cummings. Okay, an attorney was not listed for Cummings. We will update, blah, blah, blah. Okay, that's what we got there. A TDCJ correctional officer performing an sexual act with an inmate. All right, on with the show.
Within half a second, this happens.
A scary situation at Blanchard Elementary School on Friday. A McLean County Sheriff's deputy, who is a school resource officer, was passing out stickers to children at the playground.
A young man has made his way over here in or around this area. He's got kids all around him.
Deputy Scott Gibbons says that's when a student was able to reach into the resource officer's holster and pulled the trigger.
When he heard a pop and then he smelt gunpowder, he stood up, checked the child, noticed that there was a bullet hole in the bench next to him.
Gibbons says there is a gap between the weapon and the holster, that gap just large enough for wandering hands to find.
Appears that a small finger may have made it between the holster and the gun itself.
All of the McLean County deputies provide their own weapons and holsters. Gibbons says the deputy in question and his weapon passed service inspections earlier this year.
There is no indication that he did anything wrong, policy-based, statute-based.
Thankfully, no one was hurt.
Parent of the child in question has already requested on their behalf that this deputy be returned to the school immediately.
Again, the sheriff's office is doing that inspection of all of their deputies' guns and holsters. They say policy changes could happen based off of what they find. Zach Royale, KOCO 5 News.
Okay, folks, thank you so much for being here today to watch the Bad Apple Report. You know, I really appreciate it. I'm going to whip up another batch of bad apples for you, of course. But I really want to thank you all for commenting and keeping me going, hitting the thumbs up and all that stuff. You're very awesome. I appreciate every one of you who watches the Bad Apple Report. And even that guy yesterday in the comment section that called me a jerk. I love it. Well, you're lucky Lenny Molly and some of these other people didn't see that comment there, buddy. No, just kidding. Just kidding. I can take care of myself. And I did. Okay. You guys are awesome. Thank you so much. I'm going to whip up another batch of bad apples for you. I'll see you back here tomorrow morning at 7:30 a.m. bright and early.